please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Okay, you'll get to hear more of that interview through the course of the day. But for now, let's get back to the IT space. You just heard from Mindtree, Rosto Ravanan. We'll also touch base with another mid-cap IT company. Hexaware is on our radar. R. Srikrishna, the CEO of Hexaware Technologies, joins us from the sidelines of the Kotak Institutional Equities Chasing Growth Conference. Mr. Srikrishna, thanks so much for joining us on the show. I wanted to start by asking you about the guidance that you've laid out for the full year, which is about 10 to 12% as far as dollar revenues are concerned. What does this imply in terms of deal wins? How are they looking now? And you did have some client-specific challenges earlier that you had spoken about. Have they been sorted out?
So, what it means first is that we expect to continue industry-leading growth. It means that we have a solid order book on the basis of which we've given a projection and guidance. Usually our guidance for the year does not is based on what orders have already come in 2017. That's the basis of guidance for 18. It doesn't depend a lot on orders during 2018. It does a little bit, and our pipeline is very good. But whether or not we win deals in 2018 is not going to impact our growth during the year. Growth during the year is going to get impacted by what deals were won in 2017, which was very robust. And so we feel very good and confident about maintaining our industry-leading growth. The client-specific issues are well and truly in our rear-view mirror.
Mr. Srikrishna, good morning. That's interesting. So CY17 was good for you. Your revenues were up 12%, profit was up 19% despite a soft Q4. So can CY18 mirror the CY17% performance?
Well, I mean, we've given a guide. Actually, depending on which currency you look at, our CY17 growth was about 15.5% on US dollar terms. And we started off the year, even in 17, with a guidance of 10 to 12%. And as the year progressed and as we got more confidence and more performance behind us, we actually upped the guidance twice and finally wound up on higher than the higher end of the third guidance also. I don't know whether we will meet or beat CY17. It was an extraordinary year for us. But we still feel very good in absolute terms, and that's reflected in the guidance.
But Mr. Srikrishna, good morning. Thanks for joining. Exactly that pattern, can that be repeated in 18 is what we're asking. Because with each passing month, we're also getting good data, good traction in your destination economies, in the economies you service. And therefore, is it reasonable to expect that you're being conservative in the beginning of the year and that events are surprising on the positive?
Yeah. See, the economy, Europe's been pretty strong right through 17.
Yes.
As has Asia been, right? So I don't see a change in macro in Europe or in Asia. There's certainly a small uptick in macro in US, 2.4, 2.5% up to maybe 2.7, 2.8. So yes, and more some of the uncertainties are behind us. So yes, there is some positivity in the environment. My goal is not to ever give a guidance and then have to walk it back. So the only direction we hope to walk our guidance is always forward, never backward.
Okay, that's guidance enough, I must say. But what about the digital transformation then? Many IT companies are saying that now they're more confident about that transformation. At your end?
See, our company is entirely about three themes, and depending on who's defining what digital is, they would define all those three as digital. So our company is only about three things: automate everything, cloudify everything, transform customer experiences. So everything we do is linked to one of these three themes. And we define cloud as the third of these, which is transform customer experiences. But there are enough companies that actually define all those three as cloud. So, I mean, all those three as digital. So in some ways then, a lot of what we do is digital, depending on what definition you pick.
Okay. You said that the client-specific challenges are now behind you. Wanted a specific update on what's happening with that large client in the travel and transportation space. There was some insourcing of work which affected your earnings last quarter. What's the latest there?
Correct. So the insourcing is complete. In fact, it got complete during Q3 of our calendar year Q3, which is also our fiscal Q3. So there was a little bit of revenues in Q3. There was nothing in Q4. So it's over. I mean, we still have other parts of the relationship with them that continue on engineering services, but that's a much smaller component. The big chunk has been insourced. Actually insourced quite successfully, and we were very cooperative with them to help them through the process.
Okay, all right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Mr. Srikrishna, for joining us and giving us your view. That's actually a 360-degree perspective on the sector as a whole. We heard it from Mindtree and now from Hexaware as well. So let's move on to another space. Paints is on our radar. The Berger Paints management is considering setting up an integrated paint plant in Lucknow. To get us details on the project, we're joined by Abhijit Roy, the MD and CEO of Berger Paints. Abhijit, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about this plant that you have planned. What kind of capacity will it have? When does it come on stream? And what will this do to your overall financials?
Well, this plant is planned for coming up on stream probably around end of 2019, beginning of 2020 calendar year. The capacity, the initial capacity might be 5,000 to 6,000 metric ton per month. And can be expanded at a later stage as and when the demand goes up. As far as our finances are concerned, it serves two purposes. First is that UP happens to be one of the largest state for us in terms of paint consumption. So servicing the market becomes easier. The second is it saves a lot of freight cost, and therefore it is advantageous to set it up near that location.
Abhijit, you're the most celebrated guest today. In a long, long time, people have not talked to us about CapEx, so it's good to hear that. What's prompting this CapEx? What's the capacity you are operating at, and how much do you plan to increase your capacity as a percentage when the entire plan is done?
Normal capacity utilization today, is around 75% in normal average months, and in peak periods it goes up to about 84-85%. So we will run out of capacity in the east and north area, specifically more towards Bihar, UP, that belt by end of 2019 or beginning of 2020, and therefore this plant is being set up to take care of that requirement.
Abhijit, good morning. Looking at your margins for last 3 quarters, it looks like the crude prices have not impacted you at all. Is the straight pass-through still the norm for the industry? I mean, do you think if we go to say 80, 81, is that going to impact you at all?
For the decorative, yes, a little bit of a delay, but it normally gets passed through. Like we are taking a price increase effective 1st March of about 1.5% on an average, which should neutralize the cost increase impact completely. So therefore, in the decorative paint trade, yes. In the B2B segment on the industrial side, it takes a little bit more time. It needs more negotiation with the clients, and therefore some time is required for doing that.
Okay, Abhijit, how good is demand? I mean, if you look back historically, you must have seen periods of good growth. Does it look like we are on the cusp of something better in terms of economic growth?
Well, we've been hoping for it. So far, it has been moderate demand growth, not a very robust growth as such. But things have been improving over the months, and the demand seems to be pretty okay, I would say. So it's not as if there is lesser demand. It also depends on how we perform. Overall, the demand might be growing at a certain pace, but we need to outperform that. So that's something which we need to look at.
Tell you why? Because at the after the demo and the GST episodes, the talk among those who track the home improvement business was that there is not that much cash in the economy, and therefore these segments could even suffer. I mean, this was the counterpoint you were getting for those who were saying the home improvement business will do well. That's why I repeatedly come to you that this absence of cash with more people coming into the mainstream economy, is that hurting demand?
No, I think not for paint, because paint was always much more, organized that way. And, our trade has always been very clean, at least, the top level players. And the customers, of course, many of them were buying on cash, but that is, we suffered a little bit for the first 2-3 months after demonetization, but since then, things have become normal. Now there is no issues at all.
Okay, just a couple of more questions on this plant itself. Have you acquired the land for this plant, and how do you plan to fund it?
Yes, we have acquired the land. It's a state industrial zone, and it is demarcated land for industries. It will be funded by internal accruals only.
All right, Abhijit, thanks a lot for your time today. That's Berger Paints, stock doing well.